Hey folks, welcome to the ninth episode of the DevConnect show. Today, our guest is from Pune, Maharashtra in India. He is an architect at Capgemini. He is also MVP and a big contributor to the Power Platform community. Today, he is here to talk about his tool called Power Apps Portal Build Tools. So, let's come meet him. Hey Arpit, it's nice to have you on the DevConnect show. How are you?
Hey Danis, thank you. Good morning. Thanks for having me on the show. How are
Yeah,
you? I'm doing
yeah,
good.
I'm doing good as well. It's glad to finally have you on my show. I've been trying to get you, and our schedule never worked out, but finally you're here. So I'm so glad to have you on this show.
Same here, Danis. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Well, you did mention you like traveling. I like traveling too. So,
Yeah.
what all places have you been recently? What all places did you recently visited?
So as far as the my own country like India is concerned, I started my journey from Delhi, and then I traveled a lot because due to my office works and all. So I hardly stay 3 to 4 months in a particular city. So I used to travel a lot due to some project works and for the client
Mm-hmm.
interactions, and then I think in the 2019 I moved to Netherlands, so for one of the giant client called ABN AMRO. So I worked for that client, and from there I traveled a lot, like in the Rotterdam, in the Amsterdam, and then I traveled a lot, like I have been to Switzerland and in the
Oh,
Paris
nice.
and Germany. These places I
So,
visited.
out of all these places, which is your favorite one?
I like the Switzerland
Oh,
most.
okay. Any particular
Yep. Yeah.
reason, like chocolates, cheese, or snow?
Chocolate, cheese, mountains,
Yeah.
snowfall. So I like the
Yeah.
mountains. So yeah, I really
Yeah.
like that
Cool.
place.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you also did mention that you like some comedy shows. Any recommendations for our audience for any of the comedy show that you watch?
So I usually see all Indian comedy shows, like the stand-up comedians, and because I hardly get time to see the movies of 3 to 4 hour durations. So whenever I get the time for the refreshment purpose, I watch this stand-up comedians. Like we have the famous show in our India, like Kapil Sharma show. So I watch the clips of that, and there are some famous stand-up comedians like Zakir Khan and Bipul Goyal. So these stand-up comedians, I I spend around 1 or 2 hours of time on the daily basis to watch the videos of these stand-up comedians. So it's kind of refreshment
Yeah,
for
yeah,
me
absolutely.
after after a hectic work schedule. Throughout the day you have to work. A lot of mental pressures are
Right.
there, right? So during the time in the project work, so it's I don't like some emotional sort of web series or dramatic web series or the videos. I like the
Yeah,
comedy
yeah,
most.
I absolutely agree with you. Like, you have to get away from all the hectic schedule and then just relax,
Right.
right? And then not take more pressure from
Right.
all those other emotional web series or melodramatic web series. So, totally understand.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, let me ask you another question. How did your journey in the Power Platform started? Like, when did it start? How did it start?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so as far as my professional journey is concerned, Danis, I started my career as a SharePoint developer. I started my career as a SharePoint developer in a startup company, and I worked there for 2 years. And the Aadhaar card or UIDI is one of the giant client in the
Right.
India. So that was my first project. So the UIDI has implemented call center in the Dynamic 360 Dynamic CRM 2011 version. So I was the one who actually developed the the service module of the UIDI. So that was my first project. So we worked on a lot of interesting component in that. So that was my the beginning in the dynamic CRM area. So I learned a lot because I started my journey as a fresher, as a learner in that particular project. Then I moved to the TCS, and I worked there in some other areas like in the ADX studio. So that was my first project on the portal. So I worked there for 2 3 years for the portal. Then I worked in the unified service desk, and in that project itself I traveled to Amsterdam to work in the ABN AMRO client. And in that project I got into the Power
Mm-hmm.
Platform, because that project was sort of POC something kind of. So in that project we explored a lot of interesting stuff related to the Power Platform. We designed the POC, because usually when we design the POC we try to explore each and every area of the dynamics in the Power Platform, right? So in that project I worked a lot in the Canvas app, portals, and these stuff. Then I recently moved into the Capgemini in 2019, and here also I'm working as a solution architect. I got a chance to work in the lot of POCs or small demos, so where you get to know a lot of things. So the major thing is that along with the the live projects who used to run for 1 or 2 years, I got a chance to work in the small assignments. So that was the major part of my the professional journey. That's why I learned a lot in the different
Mm-hmm.
areas. And from last 1 or 2 years, I'm totally working in the Power Platform side, and a lot of POCs and a lot of demos. So that's all my journey and how I learned the
Mm-hmm.
Power Platform.
Any tips for our audience how to learn portals, because you're like portal guy and you post so much of content out there on portals. So if anyone wants to like get into portals or get started, any tips on how they should get started? Where should they look for content?
See, everyone has their own way of learning. As far as my opinion is concerned, I more into the practical implementation, because I know there are a lot of stuff is available on the internet, and by just having a knowledge of theoretical stuff about a particular topic, you cannot get a much idea
Correct.
about that. So I always, because like in the Power Platform and the Dynamics 365, there are a lot of broad of things are there in the
Right.
Dynamics area, right? And you, in any particular project, you will not get a chance to work in a
Right.
particular field, right? You have to learn your own. So I'm dedicatedly involved in the community events, right? And I watch a lot of videos about the Microsoft Ignites, and there are a lot of community folks are there who put a lot of stuff on the internet. So I recommend that watch the videos, create a trial, and start implementing things, rather reading the things through the LinkedIn articles or through the MS
Mm-hmm.
Docs, because that will only give you the theoretical knowledge. You can explain it well,
Right.
but if you have to adopt it in your project, then you have to start implementing that in your
Right.
real
Yeah,
life.
absolutely. That's a very good tip, Arpit. Thanks for that. Well, you're also a newly minted MVP. So, how was that journey?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
So, MVP journey, to be very honest, I'm doing a lot of interesting things for the community since 2012, I guess. But I honestly speaking, like I didn't know what is MVP at that time. So I still remember, like I was working in SCL. There is a I was working in SCL for a client, and I was just sitting in my room, and I was just thinking like. I have done a lot of interesting things. I'm creating a lot of reusable codes. Is there any particular way where I can put that all the stuff so that in another project I can get it easily? So one of my friend told me like, why shouldn't you start writing the
Mm-hmm.
blogs? Okay, so that he just casually told me like you can start writing blogs, so that 24/7 anywhere anytime you can get it your code and
Right.
stuff for you, right? So I just started writing my blog, and on the the blog post the Google provides. So I just put it my blog. So I started writing blog for myself. I didn't started writing blog for anyone
Mm-hmm.
else. Then then I got the motivation from other bloggers as well. I see a lot of comments, and I see a lot of feedbacks from my communities members. So it gives me the motivation that I should start writing for others
Mm-hmm.
as well. So then, because I'm not a good writer, I'm not a good technical writer as well. So then I started writing in a way so that it can be understandable for the others community members
Mm-hmm.
as well. So that's all. I started my journey as a blog. Then I still remember, like when I was in the Amsterdam, Raz called me. I didn't know Raz before, and he just randomly called me, and he told me like, you are doing a lot of interesting stuff in the community. You are write a blog. You are doing a great job in the portal side. So at that time I was like, this is something called a marketing call or some project related call. So I just had a call with Raj very casually. But when I searched Raj in the LinkedIn and just seen about his achievements and everything, then I got to know, oh, so someone a very great man is calling me like that.
Yeah.
So in that sense, then Raj told me, then Raj invited me for the Dublin event, then he invited me for the UK, then the Amsterdam event. And yeah, so that's all how my journeys begin. So I started writing blogs, then I get into the events. I started speaking in a lot of our community events. And then Raj told me like, you should nominate for the MVP now. Then I think this year I first got the MCT award. Then in April I think I got finally the MVP
Yeah,
award.
well, congratulations. And to be honest, Raz has a good eye for finding out the talent. So, yeah, kudos to him as well. But
Definitely.
huge congratulations to you too.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Well, the other thing that I want to talk about is your tool. So, I
Yeah.
wanted to know how did that idea came about? What made you think you needed to create this pipeline tool that would help deploy ALM? I don't want to steal your thunder, so I would let you say what the tool is, what is the name, what is the tool,
Right.
and how did you come about with that idea?
All right. So that tool name is the Power Apps portal build tools. So I just that thought came in mind with the tool that Microsoft has provided, Power Platform Build Tools. So that Power Platform Build tool has not the capability to deploy the portal
Right.
components. So I thought of creating a new tool to deploy the portal, because I see because I'm working in the portal since the AD Studio version was there. So at the time AD Studio portal was there, there is a tool that AD Studio was provided. That tool was called Website Copy Tool. And after that, that Microsoft adopted the AD Studio. Then they didn't provide any specific tool to deploy the portal. So people used to use like a
Right.
configuration migration tool. And that configuration migration tool I personally use in a lot of projects, and it has a lot of manual interventions, and a lot of issues was there, especially when the portal is
Mm-hmm.
multilingual, right? You have manually disable the plugins whichever is written on the out of box entities of the portal tables, and then you have to enable it back. You have to create the schema file. Sometimes I have seen a lot of issues in the community that people are facing issues that some of the components are not being migrated properly. So there are a lot of issues I'm seeing, and because I have seen the growth of the
Right.
portal. Then finally, then Microsoft introduced the Power App CLI, and I know I'm still learning the Power App CLI. You, Dinah, and other guys are the champs in the Power App CLI field. But I thought like I have a good experience in the portal, so I start learning the Power App
Mm-hmm.
CLI. So I was not I don't have any clue like what should I learn then. So I got to know like the portal is also started supporting the Power App CLI. So as a learning perspective, I started learning Power App CLI. Then I learned Power App CLI. Then I thought I should start creating something like that that should be helpful for the community, especially the Power Apps portal, deployment
Right.
strategy. So I spent around 2 months of time, to be very honest, because it was totally new for me, because I didn't use the command prompt PowerShell. So I'm not a champ in that. So there was a lot of things like YAML. I learned YAML. I learned Power Apps, that Power Scripts commands
Mm-hmm.
and all. Then I created Azure DevOps extension, because that was my first Azure DevOps extension. Honestly, I didn't made any any extension before, so it was quite new for me. Everything is new for me. I got a lot of issues. I searched a lot of on the internet, so I got to know a lot of things. Then I finally built that tool, and yeah, so that tool is right now is quite stable, and anyone can use it free. They can get it from the Azure DevOps
Mm-hmm.
marketplace, and they can get it on their Azure DevOps instance, and they can start using that. And it actually automate your migration from your source instance to your destination instance. And recently Microsoft announced the deployment profile as well, so that you can deploy or migrate your configuration to the multiple target
Mm-hmm.
instance. So I updated my tool recently and I posted on my LinkedIn and my blog post as well, that it started supporting the deployment profile as well. And I'm really happy that a lot of organization and a lot of clients, I heard, like, they started using my tools in their real
Yeah.
implementations.
Well, that's great.
Yep.
So I'm now eager to see this tool. So whenever you're ready, can you share your screen?
Sure, sure. Um, All right. So this is the Power Apps build tools. So if you just navigate to the Azure DevOps Marketplace, you will get this tool, Power Apps Portal Build Tools, and you can get it free in your organization. So let's say I have the Azure DevOps instance already available with me. So I've already installed that. So if you go to the Manage extension, so if you can see, I've already installed that tool. All right. So if you want to install this tool newly in your DevOps instance, you can just go to the Azure DevOps, open a project. And if I go to the pipeline, so let's say if you are creating a new pipeline, I'm just creating a new pipeline for the demonstration purpose. Use classic editor and just randomly taking Azure DevOps empty job. And if you want to install this tool in your Azure DevOps instance, you can find it here as well. So let me copy this here. So it's already installed in my Azure DevOps organization. So it's showing as installed, but you can start using that tool and install it in your organization. And
Mm-hmm.
then actually provides some list of, the task for you. So there are basically three tasks. First is the portal tool installer. And that tool install is basically nothing but, it actually install the prerequisites like the NPM or, the Node.js, and there is that is actually needed to work for the Power App CLI, better than me.
Right.
And export portal configuration is basically, it actually export all the configuration from your source instance. And there was a ask from the community, there was a request from the community that right now there is no way that Microsoft has provided to to do the incremental deployment. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever if you have to export the portal configuration, you have to export all the table data, and then you have to import it to the all the data you have to import it to the target instance.
Mm-hmm.
But if I don't want to, if I just want to export the limited configuration, so for example, like there are some tables like site settings, or maybe the content snippet. So these tables data doesn't need to be exported again and again to deploy to the target instance. So for that purpose also, I've just provided a new feature a couple of weeks before, that actually excludes some of the tables. So let me edit the existing pipeline. And if you can see here in the export portal configuration, there is an option called exclude data. So here you
Mm.
can mention the tables in the comma separated form. So it will not, export these table data and will deploy it to the target instance. So that is a very good feature actually, because in the configuration migration tool, you don't get this feature. And even in the Power App CLI, you don't have that option that, you can exclude a couple of the tables.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let me give a quick demo of this tool. So these are the three tasks I'm going to use that. And if you want to have a, the step-by-step guide on the instruction that how to use that tool, you can either check it out on the on this marketplace, or yesterday only I have written a very great article on that. And here also you will get to know all the step-by-step guide, like the what are the prerequisites are there, what, because I've seen a lot of users who started using this tool, they are getting some sort of permissions issues as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I've just down all the prerequisites, what sort of permission you needed, so contribute permission you needed, and all the steps I have provided on my blog. And I've just given a short demo as well. So here you can find the demo as well. So yesterday only I just posted this article.
Mm-hmm.
So after this after this meeting. If you want to check it out, my article, then you can check that as well.
Yeah.
So let's get into the the demo part. Like if you can see here, I have two a Dynamic 365 environment where I've installed the portal. So this is my first environment, Powerthon, where I've already installed the starter portal that called is Arpit Power Guide.
Mm-hmm.
And here is my second instance. I just created a trial instance, and here I've already installed a starter portal called Arpit Power Guide UAT.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So obviously on both the instance, I should have the same portal installed. Obviously, because if in the dev instance I'm installing the starter portal, then in the UAT or in the target instance, maybe in the production or SIT, I should have the same portal installed.
Right.
Now the interesting fact is that I know that lot of portal developers are facing the deployment issues from last couple of months. That is the reason that I investigated. The reason being is when you install the portal, your website ID gets different. So if you can see here, if I open the website of UAT portal, the website ID is start with the E4. But if I go to the source one, Powerthon, if I open the website, that website ID is different one. So
Correct.
that is the challenge, because in the earlier version of the portal, your website ID used to be the same. So
Mm-hmm.
when you migrate your configuration from source to destination, it automatically update your target instance configuration, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now the fact is that when I'll migrate the whole configuration to the target instance, it will altogether create a new website for me,
Right. Right.
right? It
Because
will
it
not
doesn't.
update it.
Yeah, because it doesn't find the ID matching ID, so it will create a
Definitely,
new
definitely.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I one of my project team member, asked about this, and I didn't get time to investigate that. Then I created a trial instance to find this issue, and I spent around 1 week of time to figure it out why this website ID is getting different. I created around 5 to 6 trials just to check whether the website ID am I doing something wrong, or the website ID is different for all the trial instance.
Mm-hmm.
Then I checked with the Nick and I checked with the Dilip as well, and they told that Microsoft recently introduced a new feature called multiple portals in the same Dynamics instance. That means you can have the multiple portal installed in your Dynamics instance. So obviously your website ID cannot be the same, because you can have the same portal installed multiple times in your Dynamics instance,
Right.
right?
Right.
So that is the major feature that Microsoft introduced, which actually creating the deployment issue,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I actually discussed with the Dilip as well, and he told me like currently it's not documented anywhere, but yeah, it's going to be document in the upcoming release, that there are some post deployment activities related to the conflict issues and other stuff. All right,
Mm-hmm.
but I just try to based on my experience, I try to jot down in my blog that how we can resolve this issue. So let's quickly check. So I've already told like I have two stance dev, and this is the UAT one. All right. Let me go to the my tool now. Okay. So here's my repository. I'm just deleting this folder right now. So this is the blank repository I have. I don't have any sort of folders here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just heading back to the pipeline. So I've just created a pipeline called Portal CI pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
And in this pipeline, I'm just using two tasks of my tool. The first is the portal tool installer, and it's nothing but just installing the prerequisites.
Right.
The export portal,
Like how the Power Platform build tool does, or even Wales
right,
tool does the same thing. Like you have to install the prerequisite, the
right,
PS PowerShell, download the NuGet packages and whatnot. So yeah, understood.
right. So it actually install all the prerequisite like npm or the Node.js on the Azure DevOps machine, right?
Correct.
And the second task is the export, that is the major one. And here we some couple of options are there, like the display name, that is as per your choice. You need to provide your Dynamics URL. So here is my Dynamics URL of my dev instance. All
Mm-hmm.
right. And then we have the website ID. Obviously, you have to provide the website ID. You can copy it from the URL. So here is the website ID. So for the confidential purpose, I just kept all these details in my variables. So if you can see here, In my pipeline variables, I have the application ID, secret key, tenant ID, and website ID. So I'm storing all these details here,
Mm-hmm.
rather exposing the pipeline level. So you can provide the website ID here, application ID, client secret. So obviously I'm going to use the OAuth authentication
Mm-hmm.
so that it supports the multi-factor authentication as well. So I'm not providing any user ID password so that it covers each and every scenario. So you need to register the app. So how to register an app, how to get the client ID, secret key, and how to create the application user. Every information is available on my article. So you can just have a look. So
Mm-hmm.
once you register a particular app in Azure, you get the ID, application ID, client secret, tenant ID, and then here you have to provide two features like save export all and save export as selected.
Mm-hmm.
So save export all is basically exporting all the data from your source instance, okay, and save export selected is basically exporting only limited data. So this will export the data excluding these tables.
Okay.
Okay, because
Mm-hmm.
in the repository you don't want to keep only limited data. In the repository, in one folder I have created to store the complete configuration as a backup purpose, and one folder I have created to export the data that is going to deploy, excluding these tables.
Okay.
All right,
And
perfect.
then
And then
and then that save export data, um, can that be like folder structure, or is does it have to be in the root
yes,
folder?
yeah, so it can be folder structure. You just need to select here because I have not created any folder right now. So but you
Correct.
can create your folder structure and just select the path whatever you are providing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And just output variables I have provided so that I need some sort of processing or whatever tables you are providing. So here in the exclude data sections, if I want to refer the exclude data, the tables or the comma separated tables, I just wanted to refer this using this reference variable. So just provided an output variable over here.
Mm-hmm.
And in my commit code, I'm actually providing some sort of PowerShell script just to commit my code into the repository. So here's the quick. You just need to provide your email ID. Just make sure that you have the appropriate permission to commit the code. So I've already provided, like you have the contribute, read, and these sort of access in your repository. And
Correct.
then exclude tables from export. It actually there is a PowerShell script I have written. You can just copy paste it from the blog post as well, that it actually delete all the tables that is not required actually. So for example, if I'm giving two tables name like the web file and the site setting, so it actually delete the folder so that your entity is not including in your configuration. Okay.
So is this
And the
deleting from the, so you created two folders. You created
two
one
folders.
for
Yeah.
portal
Yeah.
configuration and one for portal
Yes.
data. Is this
Yeah.
deleting from portal data, or is this deleting from portal config? Or portal
It actually
deployment is the,
Yeah, it did actually in the portal deployment you have actually the folders. You also have the same folder of the portal configuration, but it actually deleting the folder that is not required in your export. So for example, in the portal deployment also it is actually exporting the whole configuration, but
mm-hmm.
whatever entity you have mentioned here, it will delete the folder of that exported data.
Oh, so if I'm just using export portal configuration, and if I say
Yep.
save export data selected in
Yep.
the portal deployment folder,
Yep.
everything would still be available, but then you have to
Yep.
write explicit PowerShell script to remove that folders.
Right. So we
Okay.
can do it manually as well, but just to automate purpose, I've just written a PowerShell script because there is no way right now to, to export the limited configuration from the source instance itself. You have
Mm-hmm.
to process it in your repository level right now.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay.
So therefore that purpose is actually written a script. Then the last step is publishing your artifacts in your artifact folder so that you can utilize in your release folder. Okay. So these are the steps is there in the CI pipeline. Then if I go to the release pipeline, okay, so in the release pipeline, I'm just using a single task like the import configuration. So the tool installer again is required, and then
Right.
import configuration. You just need to provide your target instance details like your organization URL, your application ID, secret key, and here in the portal data, you just need to refer your the artifact so that you can pull it your portal data. So here is my artifacts which is being stored. So I just refer it. And the
So,
interesting fact is, yeah,
so now, if I have excluded some portal data,
yep,
would in that portal data parameter, would that still be included, or would it exclude some of the tables like site settings? I don't want to import site settings, so would that be excluded automatically here?
Yes, definitely. So whatever, because if you can see in the pipeline, I'm actually storing the artifacts of the configuration which is being stored in the deployment folder. So if I go to the portal data, the part to publish I'm taking as a portal deployment. So
Hmm.
that will automatically, take the artifacts from the deployment folder.
So so you export the portal configuration, and then you mention what you want to exclude, and then in the
Yep.
exclude table for export PowerShell, you're removing
Yep.
that tables from the
Yes.
repo and then
Yep.
publishing it to the artifacts. That's why those tables don't even are included in the artifacts which have been
Exactly.
referenced in the power in the release pipeline.
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
Yep. And in the release folder, the interesting fact is that just that I have recently introduced this feature called this deployment profile name. So if you are the so deployment profile, you can get the more details from the Microsoft documentation. Like if you have a specific need, like I have the source instance and I have the target instance, and I just want to keep the different configuration, in the source and the destination. So for example, like if I go to the portal, maybe let me run it. So this is my DApp portal actually. And in the DApp portal, you can see here, like if I go to the sign in page, I have these options like register, redeem invitation, and the sign in. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I have this, the browser title like Power Guide Dev. But when I want to deploy this portal to the target instance, let's say UAT on the prod, I don't want to, display the Power Guide Dev. I want to display the Power Guide UAT or Power Guide prod, and I
Correct.
don't want to use the registration feature on my target instance. So there are few settings or few configuration that you want to keep it change for the different instance,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that sort of information you can keep it in your deployment profile. All right. I'll come to that part later, that how you have to create the deployment profile name. Okay. So this
Mm-hmm.
is the basically the basic configuration of the pipeline label. Or let me run this uh, app, sorry, this pipeline. All right, so it's preparing the job. So there is this recently thing that I've noticed. Like if you are just trying this tool on your the trial Azure DevOps instance, you get the error that you cannot run the parallel jobs. I think Microsoft has put some sort of restriction that you cannot create a trial and just start using the pipeline. You have to make the request. So I have just posted that option in my article as well, that you need to make the request to the Microsoft. You just need to fill a form. You need to provide the organization name of your Azure DevOps, and it takes 2 to 3 business days of time, and they activate your parallel jobs in your Azure DevOps. So if
Mm-hmm.
you are started facing the issue that the parallel job is not supporting in your organization, then it's don't afraid that then Microsoft has recently changed in the Azure DevOps parallel jobs, because people were misusing that feature. So you just need to fill a form and just send it to Microsoft, and they will provide the parallel job. So maybe till the time this is running, I'm just checking, like if I try to find out that error details, so that if you are facing that error, maybe.
I think so. The limit is two, right? Two parallel jobs by default was one before they implemented the restriction.
Right, because earlier I didn't, see
Yeah.
that error. I just straight away created a DevOps instance and I started creating pipeline, and my tool was working as before. But I am not able to see that error. But yeah, but I have just seen that error, that the parallel jobs is not supported. You need to make the request with Microsoft, and they will enable that particularly for your instance, and then you can start using that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So
So you can see here our portal tool installer is done. Yeah, yeah.
so now it's
Tell me.
downloading all the data
Yes.
from, and then this
Yes.
is in the backend. It is still using the pack CLI. So Portal
Yes.
CLI is still being used in the backend, right?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
And in the portal tool installer, you already know, like I'm using the pack latest installation.
Mm-hmm.
So if any changes made in the Power App CLI done by the Microsoft, then it will automatically reflect here
Correct.
because I'm installing the latest Power App CLI. Yeah.
Correct. Okay.
So yeah, it's exporting all the data, and yeah, then it will store it in the configuration in the repository. So web form, ADX page, and everything is actually exported. So I was mentioning, like, there is no way, like, you can restrict that only 5 tables data you have to export from your source instance. So you have to first export the data, you have to store it in your repository, then you have to process it to, delete that or maybe deactivate that particular configuration that you don't want to migrate it to the target instance.
Mm-hmm.
So it's publishing the artifacts. All right. All right. So if you can see here, the pipeline is done and the artifact is has been generated. And I think, yeah, so first let me go back to the repos. And the repos, if you can see here, there are two folder has been created, the portal configuration, and here you get the complete list of all the files.
Mm-hmm.
And here is the portal deployment.
Now portal deployment won't have site settings in it, right?
Yeah, I think unfortunately site setting is there. I think something is missing in the pipeline. Let me quickly check. It should not have that. Some configuration is missing, I guess. Let me check here. Okay, I think the folder name is wrong here because I was just testing and other things. So it actually, I just need to provide the folder path over here so that it goes to that particular folder and delete it. So the
Mm-hmm.
folder path was not right here. That's why I didn't delete that. Let me run it again.
That's fine. I think we get the gist of it.
Oh,
You can
okay,
you
okay.
can skip the CI pipeline. Probably just focus on the CD. But now I have a
Skip.
question. So, is there a
Yep.
chance that at some point we would see additional tasks that you can build for removing that tables? Because now you have that as a PowerShell. Can you not convert it into a task in your build tools?
Definitely, it's a good idea. Actually, I got this idea from other folks as well. So I'm working on that. I'm just creating another task just to, just to get rid of from this PowerShell command that you are writing directly in the extension. So definitely, I'm working on that, and I will update about that soon.
Okay, yeah, that would be good because then you can do everything
Yeah,
using the tools and not write PowerShell script because some people might not be
yeah,
comfortable with it because if they don't know what's going on, they don't feel like taking
definitely.
responsibility for that one. Like now,
Right,
there was an error. The folder name was like incorrect. Now,
right.
you know it because you know PowerShell, but some
Yes,
people might not know it, so they won't feel comfortable writing it.
definitely. Yeah. So, yeah, so I'm trying my best to provide that option soon in that Azure DevOps extension as a new task. So definitely I'll post it on my LinkedIn on my blog that as soon as that task is available for the community.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so now we are
Yep.
looking at CD pipeline. Okay.
Yep. So let me quickly check the portal configuration.
So did it already run or
All right. So no, no. Actually, so that exported the data, but in order to make this CD pipeline work, I need to create the deployment profile here. All right.
okay.
So I haven't created any deployment profile in my deployment. So just go to new. So this is a manual process that you have to do. That you need to create the deployment profile. So let me open the VS Code so that I can copy it from there. So that is the manual part you have to do it, that you have to create the deployment profile because uh, what content will be there in the deployment profile. It's according to you, it's different based on the organization. So deployment profile, and I just want to deploy it to the UAT. So I'm just creating a one deployment profile right now,
Mm-hmm.
UAT deployment. If you want to deploy it to the multiple instance, so like for the for the production and for the SIT, then you can create the multiple deployment profile.
Okay. And then,
Uh,
so the Power Platform CLI does not actually create the deployment profile. It has to be manually created even through the Power
yes.
Platform CLI.
Yes, yes.
Hmm.
So that is the manual process right now, because maybe Microsoft in future, that Microsoft can provide a way to do that. But right now in the Power App CLI itself, then you have to create it manually.
Okay.
It doesn't automatically create. Yeah. So like you can see here, like I have created a deployment profile and the UAT deployment profile. And what I'm going to do is I'm just putting these two values over here. First one is whenever I will deploy this into the target instance, the browser suffix will change to PowerGuide UAT, because in the dev it's dev, but I just want to keep it as a UAT.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one, I want to disable the registration feature on the target instance.
Okay.
Okay, commit that. So yeah, so these two configuration will be different from the dev instance.
Okay.
All right. For that, I need to run that pipeline again.
So
Now it
before you run the pipeline, you have to make sure that there
uh
is a deployment profile created.
Yes, so that is required, because since I have just deleted all the folders for the demonstration purpose. That's why I have to create it manually. Otherwise, if you already done that, then you don't need to do that. From the next time onwards, you just need to run that pipeline. It will automatically export that configuration and import it to the target instance.
Mm-hmm. Okay, got it. So the way you might want to do it is, or people might want to do it
Yes,
is, create a portal folder first, create a deployment
yes,
profiles first, and
yeah,
then run the CI pipeline so that everything is all in one place. Correct?
definitely yes.
Okay.
So since I started, I actually deleted the folder and just created the export from scratch. That's why I needed to create it manually. Otherwise, you don't need to create that. Next time onwards, I can just simply run the pipeline. It will export it and will import it automatically.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
So
Okay.
let's it quickly run. So the major part I just wanted to show you, like, in the website right now, I have the UAT website available. uh, Once I deploy it successfully to the target instance, I will get one more website, rather in updating the existing configuration available on my the UAT instance.
So now you are running the CI pipeline to export the data again, with the
Yes.
deployment profile in place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have created a deployment profile with the name. So let me delete this. Just created extra one. So in the so you just need to make sure that whatever deployment profile you are creating, it should be under the porter folder name. Okay.
Okay.
So in the VS Code itself, I have created a folder called deployment profile, and it's under the main folder, the root folder that is being created with the name of the portal name.
Okay.
Okay. So the same way you have to create it under that. If you are creating outside that it will not pulled up actually.
Okay.
And inside that deployment profile, this is the name of your profile. So if you are deploying the portal for UAT, it's up to you. It's not a thumb rule that what name you have to keep.
Mm-hmm.
You can create a organization name and then underscore UAT, and then whatever name you want to suggest. Just make sure that you just remember this deployment profile name, so that you can keep the same name in your release pipeline.
Okay.
So I have kept it as UAT. So if I go to my release pipeline, so if you can see here, I've just given the same name, whatever I have given in the deployment profile.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Now,
So it
now
doesn't
this,
have dot deployment dot YAML. It just have the,
yes,
and anything before dot deployment dot YAML is your profile name.
yes, definitely. Yeah. And if you have a question like, I want to deploy this, the configuration, whatever I am exporting to the UAT and the prod instance both, then you just need to add this import portal configuration one more time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. like this. You just need to fill the prod. For example, you are deploying it to the SIT and the UAT both environment. So in the first, you just need to provide the SIT details, and this provide the name of the SIT profile name, and then again in the second you have to provide the another target instance details, and then provide the details, let's say prod. So for
Mm-hmm.
example, I have two deployment profile called DAB and the UAT. So you can create the two import configuration tasks, one for the DAB and one for the UAT.
Right.
So like this way.
Yeah. And or
Yep.
or else you can create two different stages. So one stage
Yep.
for UAT, one stage for prod, and then both can have their own import portal task with different profile name, right?
Yep. Definitely. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, the CI pipeline failed.
Oh, unfortunately, it was not working. I was, testing something yesterday night. I think that's why it's not working. But no worries. I can, show it in my blog. Meanwhile, that what steps you need to perform, because I'm going a lot of hit and trial on my, trial instance. That's why. So if you can see here, this is my trial. Then create deployment profile. So I've created three deployment profile: prod, SIT, and UAT.
Mm-hmm.
And yep. So here, if you can see here in my CD pipeline, I've just created a two import task, one to deploy it to the SIT and one to deploy in the UAT.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Same deployment profile I've created in the dev instance. Now, the interesting fact is that update website binding. So this is a one-time activity you have to do. So once you deploy your portal configuration, you get to see two website over here. The one
Okay.
which is already installed and one which is you got it from your dev instance. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the Arpit Power Guide. So to do that, to reduce that the website binding issue, you just need to go to your admin center of the portal. So for example, if your app or the portal app is this one, Arpit Power Guide dot UAT. So you just need to go to the uh, settings, go to the administration. So this is as part of the post deployment activity you have to do. So once you landed on this administration part, you just need to go to this particular section called update portal binding. And here you will list down, all the website record that is available here. So right now, the only website is the UAT, but once your deployment is successfully done, you will get to see two website, and the same two website record you will get to see in this list as well. So
Okay.
what you have to do is you don't want to use the UAT one because it has the same configuration but has the different GUIDs. All right. So what you want to do is you just need to select that newly deployed website. Just select that record in the drop down and just click on the update.
Mm-hmm.
All
Okay.
right. That is the you need to do. If you don't do that, then you will be in the dilemma like why my portal configuration is not working, why my portal is not up. So like that.
And can we delete the
So
website
yes,
from like once
definitely.
we have two records of website and we map the
Yes.
new one, then can we delete the
Yeah.
previous one?
Yeah, so I have mentioned the step like now delete so these are the steps that you have to follow once you deploy it to the target instance. Delete the existing website record from the target environment that got created after portal installation. So let's say you have deployed the starter portal. So you get to see two website. Once a website that you got while you install the portal and once website you got while you deploy the portal. Okay. Then you have to navigate to the Power Apps portal admin center under portal details. You have to update your portal binding by choosing the newly deployed website and then wait for few seconds, your portal will be up and running.
Okay. But then now, um,
Yeah.
this is for like someone who is starting. What if we
Yeah.
already have a portal built out, people have been using it? Uh, what happens to those portals where it's been already on production for many months, but now they
Yeah.
want to implement ALM processes or CI/CD processes? Would
Hmm.
would that new website thing that shows up, the extra one, would that cause any problems?
Yeah, so that is the biggest challenge actually, and there is no proper documentation by provided by Microsoft that how this situation could be handled in the production actually. So, for example, my site is already live, and how I can change the website binding. So I'm still waiting for the proper documentation from the Microsoft side that how this situation could be handled, because in the UAT or in the target instance like SIT, we can handle that, we can update the bindings. But maybe if you are deploying it to the production, maybe you need some sort of downtime and to change the bindings, because right now I'm just changing the binding from here, but it might need to change the SSL certificate or maybe some sort of custom domain as well. So that I'm not sure right now that how its situation is going to be handled in the production, but I'm still waiting for that documentation from the Microsoft side.
Hmm. But again, all those activities that we are doing would
Yeah.
still be one-time activities, right? Once
Yes,
we
definitely.
have once we have the ALM or CI/CD
Yes.
implemented, and
Yeah.
we do all these steps, and once
Yes.
everything is set up, then we don't have to do this again.
Definitely, yeah. So that's why I mentioned in the step like website binding is only one-time activity. This is the one-time activity that needs to be performed on each target environment after portal deployment. From next time onward, the subsequent deployment will update the portal configuration. So you don't need to do it again and again, because that is the major change that Microsoft recently did at the portal side, that you can have the multiple portal installed in your target instance. So yeah, you have to do that manual step like update website binding.
Okay. And then when you do that deployment in the new
Yes.
new website record shows up, does it
Yeah.
still have the same ID as dev, or the ID
Yes.
is still different?
No, no. Then it's case the same ID.
Okay.
Yeah. In the UAT we have the website when we install it has the different ID, but whatever website we are migrating from dev to a UAT, it will have the same GUID as the dev, because
Mm-hmm.
in the subsequent deployment in the next time onwards, you don't need to update the website binding again and again, right? The next
Mm-hmm.
time onwards, update only. You will not create that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. No, I
That
was
is the
just
problem.
wondering that whether the IDs are actually saved in the YAML file or whatever. But that's not the case. It's just basically
No,
looking
no.
at the IDs, and the same IDs
Yes.
exist, and it just goes and updates it. Okay.
Yeah.
And then
That
you
is the
can still
problem.
have. Sorry. Go ahead.
Mhm. No, no, I'm just saying like, once you install the portal, it actually created the new GUID of all the configuration. When you are migrating the existing configuration from any source instance, the GUID will remain same.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yes.
Right. 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 Yeah. And so if, because now we are doing that multi-portal
Mm-hmm.
implementations, I mean not implementation,
Mm-hmm.
but there is a way that you can create multiple portals on the same instance. So if you
Mm-hmm.
have two portals on dev,
Yeah.
this would still work, right? I mean,
Yes.
you have to
Definitely.
go through that one time activities, and then
Yes.
all those things are all set up. You still have two portals. You would have two pipelines, one for portal 1, one for portal 2, and then you can still get the CI/CD working.
Exactly, yeah. You can have the multiple portals in your source instance, but you need to make sure that the same portal is the portal installed on the target instance. Then, yeah, one-time activity you have to perform. Then, in the subsequent deployment, how many portals you have in your target on your source, from the next time onwards, it will automatically migrate it, and
Right.
update the existing configuration. Yeah,
Right. Have you tried that? Like,
I didn't try the
theoretically,
multiple portal instance.
yeah,
Yeah, theoretically
theoretically
it is
it should
possible.
work, but have you tried
Yeah.
it?
But if any of has such requirement, then definitely I can write a blog on that and I can try that.
Mm-hmm.
But
All right.
yeah, if it is working for the single portal, definitely it will work for the second portal or multiple portals as well.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. Yeah, theoretically it
Yes.
does make sense.
Because all
Uh,
the configuration of the portal is associated with a particular website. So website is the main root folder which actually associate your multiple configurations. So if you have the two website, let's say partner portal and the customer portal, then all the configuration related to the partner portal will be associated with the partner website, and the same with the customer website. So it actually associate with the website. So whatever website is there in the target instance, then it will automatically update that.
right. Yeah, makes sense. Totally makes sense. Yeah. Well, it was good to see the tool. I just have one more question. If there are any issues, or uh, or feedback from users, how can they report it to you? What is the right way of reporting the bugs or feature requests to you?
All right. So in the marketplace tools itself, let me share my screen again. So they can just simply reach out to my blog. So if I go here, so I have just provided the contact details over here. So if they want to submit any problem, they can just simply go to my website, and they can contact me over here, and they can just simply provide their details like name, email, and they can simply provide the details about my tool,
Mm-hmm.
whatever feedback they want to have, any particular request, and they just simply send it to me.
Okay. And is there like anything that you want to put in the message that you would know that this is not related to blog but related to um, the tool itself?
That category I have not provided on my contact me sections, but I think it's a great idea. I think I can provide that category, that this is related to this particular tools or maybe particular articles. Yep,
Okay.
that's a good idea.
Yeah. And is this open source or is this all like internal right
Not yet,
now?
not yet, Dennis. It's not an open source yet because I'm still trying. That is my first tool actually I have created, but soon I'll provide it as open source in GitHub as well.
Okay, yeah. It would be good to see what you have built internally, and then probably even
Yes,
like community people can then enhance it and
definitely.
relieve you from the hard work, right? It takes too much of time to maintain the tools, so
Right.
always having the community support the tools
Definitely.
is a good thing, I guess.
Yes, yes, you are right.
Yeah, yeah, cool. Well, yeah, this is awesome. I mean, I love it. I wanted to actually see this in action so that we can start implementing it in some of our projects as well. So definitely, I'm gonna try this out.
Definitely.
In lot of our projects are again portal based projects. So I really wanted to try this out because ALM
Yep.
CI/CD has always been a big talking point, and with portals, it's
Right.
again another beast, right? Because it's all data. So
Right.
it's nice to have something like available in Azure DevOps. So thank
Right.
you for building the tool and thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, Dennis. Thanks for this wonderful show, and thanks for having me. Thank you again.
Yeah, cool. It was so incredible to hear Arpit talk about his journey and how he learned new technologies and new tools to uh, create this amazing tool that will help us do the deployments of portals. The tool name again is called Power Apps Portal Build Tools. Go and look it up on Azure Marketplace. If you cannot find it, the link is in the video's description. I've also provided links to his blogs and Twitter and all the social media and how to connect with Arpit, all available in the video's description. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. There are a lot more content coming up next year. So please do subscribe and be in touch. Until next time.